Hey everybody, welcome to this video for Business Math and Calculators. This is the video for Module 55, which deals with stocks. So we are going to look at several problems where you're using a stock quote to calculate various aspects related to that stock, including things like closing price and dividends and rate of return and other things like that. So with that, we'll go ahead and jump into the problems here in just a second. Alrighty, so here we go with some problems related to stocks. So problem number one, here we go. We've got a stock quote found in the newspaper or wherever you might find your stock quotes, I guess. Answer the following questions based on the stock. So what we want to do is for this particular stock, Kirkwood Inc., we want to find the annual earnings per share. We want to find the annual dividend per share, and we want to find the closing price of the stock on the previous day of trading. All right, so let's start with part A. Basically, what you need on this are two things. You need to know what the last price was, or the closing price at the end of the day of trading, and you need to know the PE, or the price earnings ratio. And there's a little formula that you basically plug in to calculate the annual earnings. The price earnings ratio is equal to the closing price divided by the annual earnings. So we do a little bit of algebra, moving things around here a little bit, and ultimately what you end up doing is dividing the closing price by the PE ratio. And so we end up with a value of $2.43, and that is the annual earnings per share, $2.43 for this particular stock. Now, if we want to calculate the dividend, okay, what we need on this is, again, we need to know what the closing price is, what the stock is selling for at the end of that day. And what we also look at here is the percent yield. And that's going to tell us the dividend, or how much you're earning on this particular stock. Again, there's a little formula where the dividend divided by the closing price gives you the percent yield. So just make sure, remember the percent yield is a percentage, so make sure when you plug it into the little formula, you convert it to an official decimal. Ultimately, again, we do a little bit of algebra and we end up multiplying the last closing price of the day, the 36.41, times 0.038, and so what we get is a dividend of $1.38 per share. And then the final question at this point is, what was the closing price on the previous day? To calculate this, what you need to know is the closing price for today, and then the last value in the quotation there, the net change. The negative, or minus 0.46, tells us that from yesterday to today, the price went down by, in this case, 46 cents. All right. So when I go to calculate the previous day, what I do is I combine those two values, but I do the opposite of what the sign is on that change. So in this case, I'm going to take today's price and add the 46 cents. And so yesterday, the price was 36.87, and again, if the change went down by 46 cents, that gives us the little bit lower price for today. So yesterday's closing price was $36.87. All right, now we're going to continue using the same quote, the same stock quotation, but we're going to answer a little bit different question here. So sample problem number 2. Okay, suppose that Walt purchased 200 shares of Kirkwood Inc. stock at the low price earlier in the year. Walt then sold all 200 shares at today's closing price, assuming a 1% commission on purchases and sales. What was Walt's rate of return on the stock? Okay, so again, we're buying 200 shares. I apologize for the typo on the screen there. So let's start by figuring out how much Walt had to pay for the stocks when he purchased them. All right, so he purchased 200 stocks at the low price, so the $29.87. So he spent $5,974 on the stock. Now, what we got to remember is there was a bit of a commission, a 1% commission on that price. So 1% written as a decimal is 0.01. So times the $5,974 gives us a commission of $59.74 that he paid to a stockbroker or whoever is managing his portfolio. So that means altogether he paid the sum of the actual stock price plus the commission. So he paid $6,033.74. That's how much he spent to make this purchase. Okay, now remember that value. We'll come back to that here in a couple minutes when we go to calculate the rate of return. Now, he's had the stock for a while, and now he's going to sell them, okay, based on today's stock quote. So he's going to take his 200 shares, and now he's going to sell them for the $36.41. So he bought at a lower price, he's selling at a higher price, so it makes sense that he should make a little bit of money on this. So again, when you do that calculation, he's going to sell them for $7,282. Now again, there's a commission for making this sale of 1%. So he's going to be charged by his stockbroker $72.82. So what we need to do is to figure out how much he made altogether. We want to make sure you subtract off that commission. So for selling the stocks and then paying the commission on the sale, he sold at a net amount of $7,209.18. That's how much he earned from selling his stocks. Okay. Now, one other thing you want to keep in mind when you sell your stocks is you are most likely earning dividends. So we want to make sure we account for that as well. So here's a couple things that we need to do. Number one, to figure out how much he netted, take what he earned from the sale minus what he originally paid for the stocks, and so he gets that net amount of $1,175.44. But then he's also going to earn his dividends. Okay, so 200 stocks. And if you remember way back on problem number 1, part B, we calculated the dividend for this stock was $1.38. So he's going to earn an additional $276 in dividends. So that's how much he should make between the sale and the dividend. Finally, what we need to do is add those two values up. The total gain is $1,451.44. So that's how much he made through this overall buying and selling of the stock. Again, paying the commissions, earning the dividends, all those kinds of things. This is his total net gain. Now, we're still not there yet. This is kind of a complicated process. We want to figure out what his rate of return was. We want to figure out basically kind of what percentage he got back. All right. So to do that, what we need to do is, number one, figure out how much he made, which we did. That was the $1,451.44. We're going to divide that by how much he spent. Okay. So he spent a little over $6,000 when he first bought the stocks and paid the commission. So if we take how much he earned divided by how much he spent, and then that'll give us a decimal that we can then convert to a percent by multiplying by 100, his rate of return was 24.06%. So he earned 24% on his initial investment, which isn't too bad, I think. All right. So when all is said and done, the final answer for this one problem, after all of those steps of calculating how much he had spent, how much he spent to buy the stocks, calculating how much he earned when he sold the stocks, calculating the dividend, putting all those pieces together, when all said and done, the rate of return was a little over 24%. So there you go. Alrighty, so there were a couple of problems involving stocks and how to do various calculations associated with stocks. Hopefully the examples were helpful in illustrating the processes that are involved. I'll be honest, I'm not an expert when it comes to the stock market, so you'll have to talk to your financial advisor, I guess, if you're interested in buying stocks and getting involved in that process. They'll give you much better advice than I ever would as a stockbroker, I guess. But again, I hope these example problems help to illustrate, how to interpret a stock quote, and then how to get the various values for, like I said, dividends and daily prices and costs and rate of return and all that kind of stuff. If you do have any questions on these items, please make sure you reach out and ask. I'm always happy to help out. Otherwise, I hope that you have a fantastic day. Thanks for watching this video, and I will catch you in the next video.